Imagine a thriving ancient civilization, advanced beyond its time, simply vanishing from the face of the earth. What if everything they built, their incredible cities and sophisticated systems, just disappeared? We diving deep into the ultimate historical the mystery of the Indus Valley Civilization and what truly happened to its millions of inhabitants. Welcome, history lovers! Today, we're traveling back more than 4,500 years to a civilization that rivaled ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. Yet many people have never even heard of it. The Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization, stretched across what is now modern-day Pakistan and northwest India. At its peak, it was home to over 5 million people, that's a staggering 10% of the entire world's population at the time. So, who were these people? They were master urban planners. Forget the chaotic layouts of many ancient cities. The Harappans built cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa on a grid system. Their streets were straight, their buildings were made of uniform, baked bricks. And most impressively, they had the world's first known urban sanitation systems. We're talking about private bathrooms with flush toilets in individual homes, all connected to a sophisticated underground drainage network. This level of civic planning wouldn't be seen again for thousands of years. It suggests a powerful central authority and a society that valued hygiene and order. They were also incredible artisans, creating beautiful pottery. Intricate seals with a mysterious script we still can't decipher, and standardized weights and measures that suggest a thriving trade network reaching as far as Mesopotamia. Their society appears remarkably peaceful and egalitarian, unlike the Egyptians, with their grand pharaonic tombs, or the Mesopotamians, with their monumental palaces. Archaeologists have found no definitive evidence of kings, temples, or large-scale military structures in the Indus Valley. There are no grand statues of rulers, no depictions of battles. Does this mean they lived in a utopian society without conflict? Or have we just not found the evidence yet? It's one of the most tantalizing questions about them. They seem to focus on trade and craftsmanship rather than warfare and conquest. They had a complex system of weights and measures, which tells us they were serious about fair trade. We've found their distinctive seals in modern-day Iraq, which proves they were part of a vast international trade network. But here's the core of the mystery. Around 1900 BCE, something changed. This vibrant, organized, and widespread civilization began to decline. The great cities were gradually abandoned. The writing system fell out of use. The population seemed to disperse. Within a few centuries, the Indus Valley Civilization was gone, its cities buried under layers of earth, its memory lost to time until its rediscovery by archaeologists in the 1920s. So, what happened? Where did 5 million people go? This isn't a case of one city falling. It's an entire civilization fading away. And for decades, historians and archaeologists have debated the cause. One of the earliest and most dramatic theories was the Aryan invasion. This idea, proposed by archaeologist Mortimer Wheeler in the mid-20th century, suggested that waves of horse-riding Indo-Aryan tribes swept down from Central Asia, conquered the peaceful Harappans, and destroyed their cities. He pointed to some unburied skeletons found in the streets of Mohenjo-Daro as evidence of a final Violento massacre. It's a compelling story, like something out of an epic poem. However, this theory has been largely discredited. The skeletal evidence is flimsy at best. The remains don't show clear signs of battle injuries, and they belong to different time periods. Plus, there's no archaeological evidence of a massive invasion, no burned layers, no widespread destruction that would accompany a full-scale conquest. The invasion seems to have been more of a slow migration and cultural blending over centuries, not a sudden, violent takeover. So, if not war, what else could bring down such a sophisticated society? The next major suspect is Mother Nature herself. The Indus Valley is a region heavily dependent on its water systems, primarily the mighty Indus River and another, now vanished river, often identified as the Ghaggar. The climate change theory suggests that a major shift in weather patterns led to the downfall. Around the time of the decline, evidence points to a long-term drought that swept across the region. Monsoon patterns may have shifted eastward, weakening the rivers that were the lifeblood of Harappan agriculture. Without reliable water for their crops, the agricultural surplus that supported the large urban populations would have vanished. The meticulously planned cities, with their reliance on water for sanitation and farming, would have become impossible to maintain. People would have been forced to abandon their urban homes and move to smaller, more rural settlements in search of water and fertile land. It wasn't a sudden cataclysm, but a slow, grinding environmental crisis that starved the civilization out of existence. This ties into another related environmental theory: river dynamics. The Indus River and its tributaries are notorious for changing their course. Tectonic activity, which is common in the region, could have caused major earthquakes that altered the landscape and shifted the flow of rivers. Imagine the river your entire city depends on suddenly moving miles away. Or worse, a major flood wiping out your infrastructure. There is geological evidence for massive floods at Mohenjo-Daro. A series of such natural disasters, combined with a changing climate, could have delivered a devastating one-two punch from which the civilization simply couldn't recover. The very systems that made them so successful, their reliance on the rivers, became their greatest vulnerability. So, was it a single cause? It's highly unlikely. The most plausible explanation today is a combination of factors. Think of it as a perfect storm. The climate grew drier, weakening the monsoons. The rivers that sustained their agriculture either dried up or changed course due to tectonic shifts. This environmental pressure would have led to a decline in food production. The inability to feed the large populations of cities like Mohenjo-Daro would have caused social and political instability. The centralized authority that maintained the drains and organized trade may have collapsed as resources dwindled. People likely began to migrate away from the big urban centers towards smaller villages in the east and south, where rainfall was more reliable. The civilization didn't just vanish in a puff of smoke, it urbanized. The people survived, but their complex, unified urban culture did not. They adapted, they moved, and they integrated with other local groups, their distinct Harappan identity slowly dissolving over generations. The mystery of the Indus Valley is a powerful reminder of how fragile even the most advanced civilizations can be. They had urban planning and sanitation that Europe wouldn't see for another 2 millennia. Yet they were ultimately at the mercy of their environment. Their story is a humbling lesson from the past, showing that climate change and resource scarcity aren't just modern problems, but their legacy didn't entirely disappear. Many scholars believe that elements of Harappan culture, from religious motifs to agricultural practices, survived and were absorbed into later Indian civilizations. The people didn't vanish, but were transformed, their story becoming a foundational, albeit forgotten, chapter in the subcontinent's long history. What do you think is the most likely reason for their decline? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this dive into one of history's greatest mysteries, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next adventure. Until next time, stay curious.